Maybe I'll, so I'm having some, what do they call it? They're doing some work outside, so maybe it's causing some issues with my connection, but my cell service should work. So I turned my Wi-Fi off. Maybe that will help because I was told. I don't know where we left off, where it's still loading up, so that'll be available, but we'll just do a part two right now. Okay. So, right now, this is part two of episode 37. The financial, we're talking about the stability, like why your stability is a currency and how collapse of unstable ties is actually a source of relief for you. Um, and, I had some other stories. So if you want to listen to that part, you're more than welcome to do that. But we're talking about the broader connection. So the broader connection here is that many women, especially like mothers, caregivers, creatives, like this could be men too if they fit into those categories. But if you're emotional, you can get tied and stuck and tangled into these unstable emotional ties. Okay. So this can drain your time, your money, your clarity when you're in these situations. Okay. And that's where the sunken cost fallacy comes in. So, when you're stuck in these draining relationships, because it's draining some part of your energy, it could be time, it could be money, it could be clarity, it could be, whatever it is. It's pulling you off of a certain path and out of alignment and aligning you in out of alignment, and then you're kind of stuck in this misalignment. And so that can look like sunken cost fallacy, and you'll want to be really, if you're looking at how you're spending your energy, and it's going to be so important going into the future, into like where we're going with technology in the business world, in the tech world, everything is shifting very rapidly right now, and in order to adapt to it well, like you have to know what you're consenting your energy into. Okay. So let's talk about the practical takeaway of how you can observe all the relationships that you have. It can be even a minimal one, the bank that you use, and maybe the bank has some scandals tied to it, or maybe you bought a program from somebody and you're kind of going through it and you're like, there's a lot of issues here, and you're looking at, is the person that I purchased this from or the business that I purchased this from, are they stable? Or are they appearing stable? And then I'm kind of getting the short end of the stick here. Okay. So here's 3 steps that you can use in order to figure out where the unstable ties are and really look at how can I eliminate those so that I can Babu 24, I'm doing well. My other stream, I was already streaming, and my other stream was spinning. So I would be happy if my internet works really well now. So let's talk about the 3 steps. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to scan for energetic grit. So think of grit as something that needs to be polished or refined, okay? You're going to look at who or what is irking you. So anything that is causing you to feel terrible. Yay! No speak English. Oh no. Well, I don't know if I can do translations. I know that eventually I want to do that. Maybe the technology is out there. So I'll start looking into that. But so you're going to want to start for scanning the energetic grit that is in your field. So this is going to be people that irk you. It's going to be like things that irk you. Maybe there's something in, let's say that you and your family live together and you're constantly having to do the dishes, and nobody's like cleaning it and keeping, the counters clear and the dishes done and put away. And every time that you go into the kitchen, you step into the kitchen, it's like you have to go and clean everything because there's just a mess that's left for you. And so that is a form of energetic grid. Is it's this thing that is irking you in your system that's pulling away energy, which is can be translated into time. So you're not being respected even if you say, "Hey, can you please keep the counters clear? Can you please put the dishes in the dishwasher? Please take care of your mess after you're done. This is a public space and I would appreciate that." Or even in the living room or in the bathrooms or wherever that is. It could be, please don't park that way. That might irk you. And so, you have to look at that. Like, is it really a valid reason for me to be irked? One. Two, is there any way that I can disconnect from this unstable tie that I am experiencing? Two. Um, yeah, so scan and then ask, does the connection that I have add stability or is it draining it? Okay. So you can look at things that irk you, but then also look at things that are pleasant. Like I have very solid friends. I don't have to constantly, like every day, communicate with them. I know that anytime that we are ready to connect, we're going to be able to connect. There's not going to be all of this, you haven't talked to me, blah, 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 like emotional instability of like, you didn't connect with me and now I don't want to be your friend anymore, right? So you have to look at what does the connection add to my stability? Is it a stable relationship or is it draining? I have I have somebody that likes to call me when they want to emotionally vomit all over me, okay? And like there's been several of those instances where I can tell, like at first I thought, oh, okay, it's, whatever. Um, but they'll be like, hello, hello, and then they'll hang up on me. And then that's their way of disconnecting the call. So anytime that I noticed that anytime I started talking about things that I needed to get off my chest, they weren't available for that. There's like, nope, I'm not doing that. Like, I just came to vomit all over you energetically, but don't vomit all over me. And so, the last time that happened, I made a mental, emotional boundary that said, anytime that person contacts me, I'm not going to like communicate with them in the same fashion that I have. In fact, if they ever try to contact me again, I'll say, the last times that we've contacted, every time it ends in this, weird situation. Yeah. That sticker, Babu. That sticker is right. I did not like I did not like that. And so energetically, I said, you know what? I'm energetically now just cutting a tie. Anytime that person contacts me, I'll just say, you know what? I don't have time to have a conversation with you. I'm sorry. I'm not available for that. Just not available for it anymore. Okay? So is the connection adding stability or are they just taking some of my energy, taking my time and draining me? Or are they adding some form of stability? Now, if instead they were like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, and now I can go and say, hey, this is what's happening in my life. So there's like this exchange, this positive, stable exchange of energy, which typically happens with women. I had that yesterday with one of my dear friends. We went over and she was talking about how exhausted she is. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I was talking about how, there were certain things in my life that were happening. Hi, Crazy Hampton. Babu, I don't understand that. But please, if you guys are here, please don't forget to like and add a sub. Appreciate that. But we're looking at like, how does it add stability? How does it add to that? Is that a stable currency in my friend. So in one of them, I'm like, this is a very stable currency. Anytime that I need to contact that person in order to, thank you. Thank you, Crazy Hampton. Anytime that I need to contact this person, I know that they're available. And I know that they know I'm available to them because they've called me on, a number of occasions when they needed to talk about something. That's awesome. It's a good exchange of energy. Okay. But with this other situation, it's like there's not a stable connection. And, I've given several chances on the connection, but it actually drains me because I'm not getting anything in exchange. So it has to be a fair exchange of energy or a fair exchange of currency. And that's all currency is, somebody quotes you, it's $800 to install this thing for your electric panel. Maybe another quote comes in at 1600. So you've got these quotes and you're like, which exchange of energy is going to be the best for me? Maybe it's the 1600 one because they already have the part, they have the competence, they're going to get it done quickly, and you can determine, okay, is that worth it to me, or should I go with the lower priced one? Now, if there's a lower priced one, what is the difference between these two offers? And is it going to get completed? What is their, experience? What are their customers saying? What are the reviews saying? Do they have people that I can contact, or is there information online that I can contact and see, okay, are they actually going to complete the contract? Or is there a chance that they're going to take the money and run? Okay. Love from India. Woohoo! India. All right. So the last part of this 3-step takeaway is releasing through boundary, ritual, or clarity conversation. So you might have to establish a boundary. The boundary, like I said, anytime that person that won't listen, doesn't do the energetic completion of a contract, okay, if they're not energetically adding value and it's just an unstable relationship, what I said was anytime that person tries to contact me in the future, I don't have time for them anymore. And you know what? The funny thing is, ever since I set that energetic boundary and I said, you know what, mentally and emotionally and verbally, I'm going to set this boundary right now, they haven't even contacted me. So the boundary worked, okay? The ritual could be, anytime that you go into the kitchen and you have this ritual, maybe instead of cleaning up everybody else's stuff, you just focus on cleaning up your stuff. Just figure out a different way to manipulate that situation. And then overall look at, is this a relationship that I want to continue? So if it's a roommate that's doing it and they like you've continually told them, this is how the kitchen should be. We're in a public shared space. Please make sure that you take care of all of your dishes and get it cleaned up. I'm not your mother. And I've asked several times for this to be the norm. I shouldn't have to remind you. Now you have to kind of look at, is this relationship working? Is it valuable for me to be in this relationship? Because every time that this happens, I get very upset. I get stressed out. Because now I'm like, I want to go do a thing, but it comes with this pre-ritual of cleaning up everybody else's mess in order for me to do it. So maybe I want to bake cookies. Maybe I want to make crepes. I love crepes. Maybe I want to make crepes. Maybe I want to make, zucchini bread or banana bread or whatever it is. Thanks for that love. So just looking at the ritual and then like, do I want to continue in this relationship? Okay. The other one is having a clarity conversation. Now, clarity conversation is you go in with intellectual and genuine curiosity. Why are you continuing to operate in this way? I've had, several exchanges where I've told you that this is important. This bill needed to be paid at this time of the month. This the kitchen needs to be cleaned in this way. Hi, Pintu. The kitchen needs to be cleaned in this way, and I've asked you several times, and you know what my standards are. Um, and this is a public place. Please continue to keep it clean. I am from America. Um, so having those clarity conversations of I help me to understand your perspective of why I'm asking you to do something and you're not able to return that and exchange that. I'm doing well. Doing well today. Um, so that's the takeaway. That's really 3 easy steps that you can do in order to get rid of some of these emotional ties. It could be things that it's not even, it's in your periphery. You're not even really paying attention to it, but it's in your periphery. Like I had this RV that was sitting out outstanding, and I'm like, when is that going to get paid? I thought it was going to be paid in full by July, and now here we are in September, and it's still not. Like, we're still kind of dicking around with the payments here. Um, you can look at your business relationship. Now, if you're working for an employer, how is the energetic situation working out for you? Scan that environment and then call it out. Like, you have to ask, is me working for, XYZ company, is it adding stability to my life or is it draining me? Okay? And that's a real question. Is the relationship I'm in, like, I've been dating this person for 2 years. There's no real commitment quite yet. Am I going, am I getting stability from this, or is it draining me? Is it just draining me? Like, I'm not really getting a lot out of the relationship. It's not going anywhere. 2 years is a long time for you to be asking that question, but better 2 years than 10 years, okay? And then releasing with a boundary. Now think about your energy as this beautiful bank account, okay? It's in your body. You've got this beautiful bank account. Now think of that. How are you going to protect your bank account? I mean, most of the time you're putting in a vault. You have some sort of insurance on it. Maybe even, lock and key, whatever, some chains around the door. But you can release it by establishing that boundary, right? I've asked you several times to, keep the public spaces clean. We established that. I've asked you not to dip into my food stores, and, multiple times you've gone past that and violated that, never replaced it. And now, like, I've already asked you to do that. And now, like, we've kind of come to this point where I'm just not available for that anymore. I think it's time we separate, or a ritual, or a clarity conversation. Okay. I can't go too long today, but I do have another. If please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I have another podcast that I'm doing later today, so it'll be in about 3 hours, or under 3 hours. But we're gonna talk about as we log off here. I have to go get my son's schedule for school. But we're going to look at the empowerment statement of your nervous system deserves stable ties. Okay. And it's important for you to have those stable ties for you, because that is your currency. Okay. Your ability to hold is based on how well your nervous system can hold it. All right. So if you go to build something and then you're like ready to put that market product into the market, but you're like, it's not happening. It's because your nervous system is leaking. There's some instability somewhere that you need to look into. So do the 3 steps. Scan, ask, release. Okay? And just only keep the stuff that's going to keep you stable. You are your main character in your own life. All right? Nobody else is driving your car. You are driving your own car. So figure out how you're driving that. And your nervous system is that engine that is going to dictate like how these things process. Once you start to get into a more stable nervous system, because finances are energy, your finances will start to flourish. You'll be able to hold more. Okay? Because that truth and that clarity is like that bank account that's holding the boundary of your finances, your energy. Just think of it as your energy. It's called current C. Current. It's flowing. C. S-E-A. Currency. It's just a flow of energy. All right. And then finally, reflect in your lives where these unstable chords are costing you money or even your own peace. Okay? So if you're constantly thinking about the ex that, did whatever the situation is, the ex did something and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're the reason why my life is shit right now. You're your own main character in your own life. What choices did you make to get to that situation? Okay? So look at where in your life these unstable cords or these unstable ties are sitting that cost you your own peace, your own dreams, your own vision, your own purpose, your own consent, your own decision making. Like these things are really valuable. And we sometimes don't even realize how valuable they are. Okay? I do have to get going. I have more things that I can probably talk about later. Maybe I'll just do a quick brief. Okay. So, in my last 6 months, last 8 months, eating some chips. That's cute. I like your stickers, Babu. So let's look at some of my revelations from this year. So the first one is creating the Nervous System First Leadership Primer program. So this is like the program where regulated leaders regulate teams. Regulated leaders regulate organizations. So remember what I said about business. If you're working for a business and they're creating toxic work environments, everything's online, the managers don't know how to manage, they don't trust their employees, and the employees just right back at them, don't trust them. That is a nervous system unstable tie. Okay, you feel that instability, and that's going to trigger the subconscious amygdala hijack, where it just immediately responds, immediately react, instead of your rational brain, where it takes a little bit of time, but over time you can kind of figure out, oh, okay, this is how I can resolve this problem. Okay. So dysregulated leaders, even of countries, of religious institutions, because of their dysregulation in their system, they spread that instability through you. So you really have to look at, what am I consenting to when I'm working for this company? What am I consenting to when I buy products from Amazon or products from Walmart or products from small business, whatever, products from TikTok shop? What am I buying? Because that energy exchange is real. Okay. The next thing that I noticed this year was the digital fatigue that happens. So, in my Digital Age series, I was talking about how our digital nervous system affects us and can create burnout. So, notifications, endless AI prompts, remote work stress, going and logging into social media or maybe even multiple social medias. Like these things create digital fatigue because our brains they're not as complex where they can say, oh, yeah, this is reality and then this is imagined. No, it doesn't work that way. It's all reality to your brain. Hi, James. Welcome. Um, so, when you're getting into that burnout stage, you've kind of taken it a little bit far. You haven't noticed a lot of the signs that probably were already creeping up. And so it really takes a lot of repair and regeneration in order to restore the burnout, digital fatigue that you can get from that. Hi, Ranjith. Good to see you. Um, so in the digital space, in the cyberspace world where we're like, interacting with it, we really need to think about how are we recentering before entering into the machine, because we have to have a solid nervous system base, because anything that you put into the internet, if you're unstable, it's going to transmit through the internet. So that could be in Meta. Let's say in Meta, Zuckerberg's doing whatever, and now whatever he's up to, or even Elon doing whatever Elon does. Like if you're purchasing a Tesla or you're, contributing to SpaceX, you're getting that energy from however Elon is running that company. If you're plugging into Facebook, you're getting whatever, Mark Zuckerberg is putting into that company. If you're buying things from Amazon, you're bringing that energy from Jeff Bezos all the way down through all of the systems into your own system, and vice versa. You're sending that out too. So anytime that you log into YouTube, so when I log into YouTube, I go, I'm coming onto YouTube in order to help heal people, to help them to remember who they are in their sovereignty, in their agency, and make sure that they know that they consent, that they have authority and responsibility of their own life, that they're their main character, and that they have a certain essence before plugging into any of these machines, any of this technology. All right. There was a very interesting theory that everything Elon is doing here is practice for Mars. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that happens. Like, I think that the real space race is the mind. That's my theory. And that everything that they're doing right now with neuro interface technology, meaning instead of having keyboards or instead of having mice, all these devices that now operate a computer, that you'll be able to do it from a neuro interface. So maybe even, I don't know exactly like where I've seen it, but I've seen it where they have these like clear, look like plastic screens, or even like this holograph thing where they're just like kind of moving things around with their hands and just like swiping. And then because they are designing wearables right now, and the wearables they've been launched for about 3 to 5 years. Like they've been working on this for quite some time, but 3 to 5 years is like about roughly that. But when we log into these machines, when we connect into these machines, we need to do so from this sovereign space, from a space where we're able to still maintain our human intelligence, our soulistic intelligence before going in there. Because if we're not regulated, it's going to tax us. It's going to burn us out. Just like that relationship that the mother had with the son or with her partner, or even like you have with a toxic work environment. Okay. The other nervous system revelation that I had was with even just with motherhood or even identity shifts. So when we look at motherhood, like even when before you get pregnant, you have an identity. When you're pregnant, you have an identity. When you're like a first time mom with the, infant baby, you have another identity. And, as the child grows, you become into other identities. Like right now I have my teenager is my youngest child, and that is a whole new identity shift. And then, beyond that, I'm like, okay, what do I do after my child is of adult age. What am I doing? So, I'm looking forward in the future of how am I going to hold my identities throughout this, as well as building a business identity, and even, whatever other identities come into that. So when you change those identities, you can kind of lose yourself in some of those things. Okay. So identity was huge this year. The other nervous system regulation, which is, kind of what I was talking about today, is that financial flow and stability where money follows your nervous system clarity. So if you have little instability or if you have little stability in your nervous system, your finances are going to follow that flow. How many identities a human have then? We have multiple identities. People make fun of like multiple personalities, and I'm like, I don't think it's really necessarily a bad thing for people to have multiple personalities. So think about this. You have like the identity of your own inner self, and then you have a public identity, and maybe you have multiple public identities. And then you have an avatar online. Let's say you're playing a video game, there's an identity in that. You're on social media and, you're projecting this different part of your identity. There's an identity in that. At work, maybe you operate in a certain way. That's your work identity. So you can have you can hold multiple identities, and a lot of people have a hard time managing all of them. This is this is characters. They're multiple identities. Like people shift back and forth between them. I did a really good series. I can't remember which number it was, but it's called Digital Identities, and it talks about all of them and how that operates. But going back into that money flows through your nervous system clarity. So unstable ties are equal to energy leaks, which leads to this financial stagnation. Okay. And then boundaries are your bank account. So just think about your energy and how you can establish a boundary around that bank account. All right. The next one is entanglements and relationships. Okay. So maybe you're emotionally available, and because you're open emotionally, you're able to tie into another person's nervous system. So if you have somebody that's avoidant and you're tied into that, then there's a little bit of instability there because there's no truth telling that's happening. And, the connection that you have is actually co-regulating, and what people might call quantum entanglement happens because now you're entangled with that person, and it doesn't matter, what the distance is, you're going to experience their energy. Okay, so this could happen between siblings. It's happened to me. I remember when I was 17, I had a dream about my brother where he fell into a river and was like in crisis. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my gosh, like something happened to my brother. And I call home eventually when I was able to call home on a payphone. I called home and, sure enough, something had happened to him. And that's quantum entanglement, is having that connection with people, siblings, parents, children, like intimate relationships, friendships. You just get these pings of, oh, I'm thinking about this person, and then they call, right? So you have these entanglements because of the nervous system. And so I call the nervous system the Wi-Fi of your being. Part 15. Part 15 is the digital identity, and I encourage you guys to listen to that one. That was kind of a really revealing one. And the relationships that we have with people, I just went over it, but just the relationships. So roommates, contracts of things that you're selling, things that you're buying from people. You have these connections, these exchanges of energy, and when you do that with dysregulated people, it enters your system, and you may not even realize it. So it's being really conscious of what you're bringing in, what that energy is. And then finally, one of the other things that I recognized this year was cultural collapse patterns. So in the Digital Age series, and even outside of that, I now have noticed how each crisis, so like 9/11, the Great Recession, the pandemic, how these all accelerated at some point this digital buy-in, this this technology buy-in, this digital technology buy-in. Okay? I think it was yesterday I was going off on I guess my brain connected it all together. I was like, okay, the smartphone came out in 2007. The There was a lot of other things that came out in like that 2007 to 2010 period. And each of those, like, so that crisis in particular brought in cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency was born immediately after that. So the Great Recession, if you guys don't know what that was, is in 2008, 2009, all of these loans, these ballooned loans, so, home loans, they failed. There was a huge failure. Great Recession happened. A lot of people lost their jobs. The economy stalled and even went, under a little bit. But at the same time, iPhones were coming. Smartphones were like the thing. People were buying into that. Digital currency, cryptocurrency became a huge thing. That's when Bitcoin was born. The financial system is failing us. We need cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I'm trying to think of the other ones. I don't remember them all. But that Great Recession ushered in an accelerated pace all of these alternatives to, our whatever our analog communication was, whatever our analog finances were, even up to like house as an asset, right? And then slowly over that time, new things were entered into our world, especially around 2015, 2016. Now we have, NFTs and this digital virtual reality space that is now we can go in and watch movies, like there's a whole transaction thing. It's like Second Life on steroids, okay? And then the pandemic, that changed and shifted the way that we do business. So before it was like a lot of on-site and maybe a little bit of remote work, but the pandemic quickly made Zoom calls, Teams meetings, Slack, Skype was something beforehand, but now like we've got all these new apps that are able to connect not just workplaces, but education. There was online or before, but that pandemic really accelerated how we do business. So now hybrid work is like half on site, half remote is available, 100% remote companies. The thing is that with these cultural collapses of analog and then the buy-in to digital, we did not adjust our nervous systems to hold that. It's just like eating the apple in the garden of knowledge of good and evil. I think that like expanded their minds so much where they can like now they knew everything and that can operate in their cognition, and that collapsed them. And that's, the rest is history. That's my hypothesis. Is not allegedly going to be. But the pattern here is like there's a fear dysregulation, and then because of the fear dysregulation of the Great Recession, 9/11, anytime that a president is elected, there's fear going on. Environmental, like there's all different kinds of fear dysregulation that's being promoted. But because of that, the cultural collapse, when they accept that fear, is now people accept the new systems faster without thinking about it, without thinking, what's the consequences? What's going to happen if I do take this? What is going to happen if we go into this direction? And so that's our huge thread here. But I do have to take off. That is as much as I could do today. I hope it was valuable to you guys. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing. If you guys want to support my channel, there's Buy Me a Coffee is available. I think I have a couple Venmo or Cash App if you want to help support me that way. Energy exchange is great. And I do these for you guys to help enhance and help you to remember who you are as a person, because you are valuable. Your attention is valuable, your energy is valuable, and that is like, it is necessary for these next things to happen, but they can only do it if you consent to it. So it just, I hope that you come away that you have consent that you can give. And I have so much respect for consent. I might even do a podcast on it. Even more so than before. So I appreciate you. I know I'll be back later. I just, I had to go get my son's schedule for school, but, but I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching Celestic Intelligence Podcast. This has been episode number 37, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Catch me in about 2.5 hours. I'm going to go live again, and we're going to be talking about digital age stuff and how cool some of the neuro interface stuff that I've been kind of mentioning here. We're going to go deeper into that information. And so I look forward to seeing you guys there. But if not, I'll catch you guys next week. All right. Yay. Yep. Thanks, Mom.